Hey, good morning, guys. Probably we had a very good session last time, so I'll be doing a little, recap whatever we discussed last time, and from there we'll go further. And those are the stuff that I'll gonna. What would be the little recap, and what would be the this session outcome? So I'll gonna talk about what would be the current session outcome, and we'll have a little recap, right? So I believe we discuss about, let me share my quickly screen to you guys, and we will have that, 1 and 45 minutes, 1 hour 45 minutes of pure discussion about the furthermore steps that about the Power BI, and a little we're gonna dig over a little SQL today. I want to have a little SQL understanding, how much you guys have a know about the SQL, because before we go ahead to the data modeling, I want you guys to have a little understanding about the SQL. What would be the little understanding about the basic. I'm not gonna go into a little more into the advanced SQL, but a little basic. What would be the joins? What would be the inner join, left outer join, right outer join, right? And then after we'll go more about the models, right? Data models. What are the dimensional models? What are the facts? All right. So let me share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Yep. All good. So let's do a little recap that what we discussed last week, right? We discussed about this, correct? We discussed about the employee, table. We discussed about what is the, more into the what are the tables, what are the entities into the what are the entities into the table, right? How the data would look like into the table, correct? And what are the relationship between employee and the department, or what are the difference between the entity relationship between the both are the two tables, right? So these are the employee table we discussed, these are the department tables. If you want to find out what is the primary key, then yes, definitely each we discussed about those are the you know uh, primary key. This is my employee is a primary key. In each table we will be having a one primary key, and if we have any relationship, right, it will have a foreign key. That means it will be a primary key of the relationship of the other table, right? If you see this would be the better example. Employee and the department, we have this employee ID, employee name, right? We discussed this is the employee ID, employee name, last name, location, pin, joining date, salary, and maximum salary that we have calculated. And same way we discussed about, I'm sorry, we discussed about the the department, right? Department, what is the relationship between department and employee? That would be the employee ID, if you see. So this is one to many relationship that we discussed, right? We discussed about one to many, we discussed about many to many, we discussed about many to one, right? That means one employee ID can have a multiple, you know department. It can tag to the multiple, as you can see, right? This 1 2 3 4 employee ID have, and 2 3 4 3 employee ID is having to the same department. That means one to many, right? And this is something that many to one, right? 10 is department ID, but the employee ID is the one, that is a single entry. And one to one, that means only one employee ID and one department ID. If you see that the 20 Akshay would be the a single entry that we have it in employee in the department. So this is we discuss about what are the primary key. It should be always it should be a not null column, right? It is a unique and not null. What is a varchar, right? What are the integer columns? What are the varchar columns, right? Those stuff we discussed, and we discussed about the entity relationship between them, correct? Then then we have gone through the actual understanding of the Power BI, correct? What are the Power BI concepts? We discussed about how we can install what are the courses outline. We discuss how the first introduction of the Power BI, connecting to the and shaping the data. And now we'll discuss about creating the data model in today's complete session. I'll try to complete it by today and tomorrow's session because it's a very huge co- concepts basically. So I'll try to complete it. Let's see. It depends upon the pace of the today's, how much are you guys are getting, because I don't want to create a confusion, because I don't want to have all information together to discuss today. So we'll divide those into the multiple modeling concepts, right? And then we discuss about the, I believe someone, can you please someone mute Ashmita? Okay, thanks. So connecting, we discuss about what are the course outline. We discuss about how we can download, first how we can download the Power BI and go to the app.microsoft.com/api. That is the URL that we hit it, correct? And then we have downloaded this data, Power BI desktop free version, and we move ahead from there, that to understand what are the course outline, right? How we can introduce what is the difference between the Power BI and the Excel, right? There are Power BI queries. This is a major difference that we discussed. Those are the Power BI queries, right? That we can connect to the multiple ecosystems, right? Multiple ecosystem, that means it can connect to the the AWS. It can connect to the multiple databases, that is Oracle, Teradata, and so on, lot of things, right? So we can create the it has the Power Query window that we can do the ETL work, or we can do the transform, right? And then we can have that why it is needed. Then we can have a visualization, that is where we do it a multiple visualization. And then we can move ahead from there, that this is where we wanna difference between Excel, that it do not have the multiple functionalities, or a connecting or a shaping the data, that we do not have it in our Excel, right? We discuss about how we can visualize. Yes, it will be a upcoming session that we're gonna discuss. This will be a the Power BI visualization, but I'm not gonna go into detail over here right now, because we need to understand the core. If I say core, that means we need to understand the data model, right? Why Power BI? As I said, connect, transforming the data, millions of data, do the DAX, right? Data analytics, analysis expression, that is the calculative form, right? And then connect to the multiple data sources, right? And after once these are set, we have connecting or creating the data model, and then it is right to create a reports and dashboards. So we discuss about the difference, right? The what is a Power BI query? We have this in our Power BI. If you see, we have this is called, right? Right, this is called transform. If you see over here, I'm sorry, if you see over here, we have a transform, right? Here you can see that we can transform the data, how we can included those CSV files. I believe we have shared the sample of raw data also into the libraries, where you can get the download. I believe you must have gone through each aspects. We discussed about each aspect. That means this is the Power Query that we discussed, how we can enable those CSV files into our Power BI. And also once we click on transform and transform the data, there is one more uh, you know the query Power Window query usually opens, that is called the ETL work that you gonna do it, that we discuss, right? So that is the data model, Power Query, data model, and DAX, the major difference, right? And this is where we discuss how you can download from app.microsoft.com. Then go ahead. There are multiple ways, but this is the best way to get it, right? Then we have done a little settings. You can go to the settings and do those check all the box, and update, unchecks those three boxes, and have this the language, regional language depends upon the your English or United States that you are working upon. This is the workflow, that Power BI workflow, how you can enable those query that I am currently see. This we created this, there is one more Power Query window has got open, correct? While creating into the or clicking onto the transform the data, right? So this we all discussed last time, right? This we discussed about the how we can connect to the data or a multiple data connectors. We discussed about how we can connect to the web API, how we can connect to the databases, how we can connect to the CSV files. So these are the major things how we can connect to the Power BI and we can fetch the data. This is the back end and front end that we discussed, right? That would be the connect and extract the using through the back end. That means how you can transform or shape the data, how you can append and the merge the query. I'm gonna discuss a little more because it has the joining, right? Join, that means you should know a little SQL. That's why I'm gonna discuss about the little SQL, and then I will go ahead with the little database concepts, data warehousing concepts, and the data modeling concepts. Today, completely with the concepts. And then it will be a little front end, right? That how we can develop the data model, how we can, create the DAX, how we can create the reports. This is all about the front end, right? This is the type of connector as we discussed, get into a get data and type all the things that you can get it from the Excel, get it from the multiple, from the XML database and those stuff, even though from the any of the database, right? So this is the Power Query. If you see, this is the Power Query. It is got open over here in our system also. And this is the basic table transformation that we done it. How we can remove the column, how we can add the column, how you can create the copy. So those how you can create the duplicate rows or duplicate table, duplicate copy. Those we discuss, right? How we can again we how we connected to the CSV files and we loaded the data, right? So this is column. Again, in the next class, we have talked about the data profiling, right? How the column quantity would be, right? And how we can get to know that whether, you know, the data which we loaded, is it the proper way, right? We did the profiling into the tools. That column profiling, column distribution will find out in a very proper way that, yeah, this data doesn't look good for me. So we might have to tweak a little things, right? So we discuss those quality, right? And in the distribution we also seen it that it directly gives you the answer, right? In the sales or a distribution, that how what is the sales count, what is the maximum salary, that is what is the minimum salary, it will get it over here by clicking into the tools and the column distribution, right? So as I discussed in column distribution, we're gonna find out what are the counts, what are the distinct counts, what are the uniques and mean and max that we discussed in the last, you know. And again, we found out how we can split the column, right? How we can connect it to the data, data. We took I mean taken out the I mean, as we discussed adventure works, we have taken out the Gmail from the each email ID, and we figured out that we can remove that from the email address. There we can append and have that the domain name separate. So this is the solution that we have discussed, right? Capitalize each word, whatever the activity we are going to do it, it will be stored it over here, right? All the activities will be stored over here, right? So this is again the numerical tools that we discuss. What are the sum, main, average? Then we discuss about how you can load the calendar table, right? How you can create the calendar table within the Power BI, and then how we can get that receive. We have this. We have already loaded this calendar, right? So this is, we have already loaded from calendar. We can go ahead and check that. Okay, here we can see that. Okay, if you want to find out what are the the activities we're gonna do, it will be storing over here. We have renamed this column, then it will be a storing as a what are the activity you're gonna do it, right? We discuss about how we can add the column, right? It will be a little slow. Yeah, here you can add your date time. If you select over here, you can create the date time, right? And then here you can find out what is the age. If you want to add the year, month, quarter, and same on start of the year, start of the what is the quarter of the start of the month, start of the year, start of the week. Those stuff we discussed, right? How we can create our own rolling model or a rolling calendar, right? So that is what we discussed last time, right? See, if you want to find out the this is the code that we can do for a minus query, that or a minus function that we can do from today till the from the starting of the year. We can store it and we can do the or create our complete databases, right? Or the complete our you know create our complete table that we can store into our Power BI, right? So those stuff we fair enough we discuss. Anybody have before we go ahead, right? Anybody have any questions? So we can talk. See, I believe you guys have done a little recap by during this 5 6 days on your week. I believe it will be a better understanding if you guys have done it. If not, then you can post your questions and we can answer those questions later on, not now, before our ending this session. So I want that would be a 15 20 minutes I'll gonna take it, and then from there onwards we can talk about the question that you guys have. So let's today have a little fair enough idea. Okay, I want to have little fair enough idea about the sequel before going into the sequel, because see, this is if I directly go to the data modeling, it will directly see, this is the next our topic we're gonna discuss. So I don't want to get into a direct, right? I just want to have a quick understanding of sequel, correct? So what is sequel? Why we need a sequel? Anybody wanna answer? Anybody? Or it's better you guys can chat. It will be a better for me. If you guys can, I'll open a chat. You guys can type it over here. Anybody wants to answer? Anybody? Why it is required? Query. Anybody want to answer on this? It is fine. It is wrong, even though it is fine. So that is called structure query language, right? Why it is required? Basically, it is required.
It
Yeah, go
is
ahead.
used to it is used to extract data from the database by different queries.
Right. Correct. Right. Yeah. R of SQL makes it simpler to connect with the database. Right. Yeah. Correct. And added it to interface Nisha. Correct. To interface with the relational. See, I'll not gonna make this as a statement. Relational database. Right. I am asking SQL. It is in, considered as a database. I'll gonna come to that. But yes, fair enough answer. It is allowed to communicate with the databases. Correct. It allows you to communicate with the database and perform like the creating, updating. Correct. First step, it is called structured. Right. It is called structured query language. Right. That means structured query language. That means whatever, let's say you have a database. Okay, I'll gonna give you a little quick, real time example. Okay, you have a database. I have installed the Oracle database. Okay, Oracle database. In Oracle database, you have entered the host name. Okay, correct. To find out the particular result on the, I'll come to that. Thanks for sharing the answers. Yeah, I'll come to that. I'll give you a little, very live example. Host name, let's say 127.0.0.1. Okay, then port 1545 or 1521, and service name. Okay, let's say I'll consider as a e-commerce. Please pay an attention. I'm this is where I'm giving a very detailed, because this will not gonna find it in any of the online. If you find out, it will gonna directly, I mean, it will give a, if anybody do not know about SQL, they can even understand, right? This is, I have downloaded the Oracle database. I have this entry. I have connected to this IP address, host name, port, and the service name. This is called, once I enter, I have get into a multiple, let's say this is my e-commerce. That means I've got into a database. Now you talked about, right, someone pinged, right? It is used to have a, connect to the databases. That means it can have a multiple databases. This may have a finance data, right? It may have a HR data, it may have a IT related data, or it may have a retail data. So retail, that means it may have this type of databases. Correct? E-commerce is the one of them, finance is the one of them, HR is the one of them, IT is the one of them, and retail is the one of them, right? So we are connecting to the one of them of the databases. Correct? For each database, there will be a host name will be a different. Host name will be a different. For now, we are connected to the e-commerce. Then it will connect to the database, right? It has, what are the things you will gonna find out? You're gonna find out the structure in a such a way. You'll find out like this: e-commerce, right? Then you'll find out table. Then you'll find out view. In the left corner, I'm talking. Once you expand this, you're gonna find out this view. Then store, procedure, package. Then you're gonna find out triggers. I'm not gonna go into details each everyone. I'll just want you to give you a little cursors and so on, and other IDs, others. So you're gonna find out this. Inside that one table, let's say you have expand this drop down column, right? Inside that you're gonna find out table. That means e-commerce table. That means I have a, let's say, purchase order table. Once you expand it, you'll find out purchase order table, invoice table, and so on. And the view, that means you're gonna find out, right? Here, whatever the table query that you're gonna view, that means it is going to be, you, let's say, view underscore PO table, view underscore, you can call it as invoice table, right? So those things you're gonna find out. In store procedure, multiple packages you're gonna, you know, have it. Multiple, that means multiple queries. So it will be look like something like this. This will be store proc p underscore, let's say I'm considering as a, let's say you have a PO purchase order underscore fact. Let's say store proc, right? I'll name it as like this. Store proc underscore. This will be like this. You're gonna, once you connect to this database, as I mentioned, it will be look like this. Then you can consider as store proc store procedure. It is called the store procedure, right? Underscore, let's say invoice underscore fact. I'm gonna get into a fact, don't get confused. I'm gonna talk about what are the facts, what are the dimensions, right? What is the packages? So it has the multiple packages. That means it has the, let's say I want this store procedure to be included in a one single package. Then it will be having a PACK underscore PO and invoice. I'm sorry, PO and invoice. All right, that means this two procedure will be stored under this package, and once we run this package, these two will be running, and so on. Don't get into this cursor and triggers. It will be a little advanced SQL, so I don't want to, for today. I don't want to talk about this. We're gonna talk a little detail once we heads up with the once we go ahead and get into a little pace, right? Yes, this is should be this is how you're gonna look like. So once you connect to the databases, if I want to see assumption, right? If you want to see that, let's say I want to see the table, what are the columns that I have, right? If I talked about what are the columns that I have in uh, PO or employee table, right? So we can see that, okay, these are the columns and these are the data that we have. How we can get it? We don't know how we can get it. Where for that we need this SQL, that is means every table, each table in this, right, in e-commerce database, it has the structured way. The data is stored into the structured way. That's why we call it as a structure query language. It is a programming coding language that we use it. Wherever we gonna touch to the PO table, it will gonna have a relationship, right? As I mentioned, employee will have a department relationship, right? And same way you can find out PO table, the it will have a relationship between the both of them. That's why it is called it as a structured query language, right? So as I said, right, if I want to see assumption, if I want to see this table, how I need to see. So there will be a syntax for this SQL or a structured query language. You can call it as select, right? These are the DML statement. Okay, what are the DDL statement? What are the DML statements, right? Select star from table name, right? That means that means let's say this is the PO table, and I want to see this. What are the tables data I have? So you're gonna see this instead of table name, you can call it as PO underscore table. It will give you an semicolon. It will give you the exact columns. What are the inside column that you have? For that, it is called as a structured query language, right? So what are the DDL for this? Let's jump to the, so any question that anybody, that what is SQL, why it is required SQL, right? If we want to find out the relationship between them, right, where you can directly go and check. Let's say PO table might have purchase order number or ID, purchase order name, PO items line, PO underscore item, right? PO underscore line item, correct? Then you can find out, you can call it as, let's say we'll take it as from PO, we'll take it as the customer data. Who is the customer? Customer ID and customer name. Let's take this. Right here, I'll gonna add one more, cust underscore table, right? Here, let's say we consider select star from cast underscore table. Then we're gonna find out these other table. And for this tree, we'll find out this table, right? What would be the ID? Let's say, let's take it as what are the columns that we're gonna have? What is the data that we're gonna have, right? Okay. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me remove this bolded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. PO name. Let's consider PO name as purchase order would be. Let's take it from the I've ordered something called electronics, right? PO name electronics. PO item headphone. All right. Line item 1, for which let's say let's take it my name Dheeraj. Customer. Oh, sorry. Customer name Dheeraj and ID would be 1, 2. Let's take it as 84378. Let's take it as some ID. Okay. So this data fine for everyone. This is where we have it. Where you can find out this is the integer structured, and why it is called it as, one more I want to add, because it is a structured query language. It has the each columns will have a very structured storage. That means your integer cannot store the text or vice versa, or your text form should be available in the varchar format. Your ID should be considered as a number, and so on, right? So that why this is why we call it as a structured query, right? Or a structured data that we store it into the database. Let's consider what is the integer, what is the type of data type? Integer. Okay, what would be the data type of that? Anybody want to answer for this? Anybody want to answer what would be the data type?
Worker.
Correct. PO item, again varchar because it's a text, right? Again it is the number, I'll consider as a integer. Again integer, again it is the varchar. So this is a data type, correct? Let's consider invoice table. Invoice table may have, again, correct, invoice ID. Again, see, these are what I'm, see, this is a very structured way we are storing. See, if you see, every table has the ID, right? To understand, I don't know, let's say I want to find out the customer. For my name, it may have a lot of PO customers, right? For that, there will be a unique ID will be allocated. That is called the PK, as I said, not null and unique. That is called constraints. What is it called? Constraints. And unique, right? Same way, invoice. Invoice ID. Invoice, let's take it as a invoice. Consider date. Okay. Okay, invoice ID, invoice date, invoice name will consider as name. Then uh, let's take it as for which,
Address.
or let's take it as for which customer you're gonna have this invoice and customer name. See, we are doing a little data modeling over here also, so try to have that attention. I'm giving a very simple language. I'm using very layman language to understand. Those who are not from the non-IT backgrounds, those also can easily understand. Let's take it as invoice ID. Anybody can tell me that. Let's say I want to have a little, session. Let's say I've created this PO, right? Let's say purchase order and purchase order date will consider as date also. This will have a data type, and it was created on 29. Correct. So what do you think, guys? What would be the relationship between these two? We discuss for an employee and department. I want to see what would be the relationship between PO, what for which PO ID. I want to know what would be the relationship between them. I don't want to add. I
Customer
already
ID is the same.
You can relate them with customer ID. One of them will be a primary key and one will be foreign key.
correct for a PO. For a PO, if I talk about, anybody want to answer?
PO ID.
Yes, correct. That is what I want to know. PO ID, correct. From here also you can get, if you see, right, PO ID. It is primary key, right, over here. But here it is considered as a FK, that is called foreign key. See, I'm talking about all about the data modeling concepts. So please try to, get whenever you are not getting, pause and write it down the questions, and then we can, go ahead and resolve your questions after the our session gets over. We'll have a Q&A session. So don't get, okay, fine, I'll gonna don't leave it as it is, right? So let's take invoice. Let's take, if the PO is done, let's say person have done the, or let's say I've paid through the UPI their time itself yesterday. Invoice name, let's say electronics gadgets, Dheeraj name, INC. I'm just giving the invoice name, right? Customer name, let's take it as a customer ID, correct? Let's say I'm gonna add it over here before customer ID, right? If you see customer ID is over here, you can directly get it customer name from here, right? So can you tell me that how many FKs will be there in my this table, invoice table? Anybody wanna answer? How many? I already have a FK. It is related to the PO because PO ID is the one I'll gonna connect, right? This data will be over here, correct? So if I want to understand the FK, I can find out, okay, this FK, I have it. There will be one more FK that is called customer ID. So that means I have a relationship between. So let's take out for the, also let's take out this, complete data. I'll gonna copy, I'll gonna paste it, and I'll gonna modify it. Okay, invoice date, varchar ID, date, ID integer. Okay, and I'll gonna remove. Okay. So let's go to the customer table. Hmm. This is customer ID, customer name. right? Customer location, correct? Then customer, let's say it is, let's say complete as a address one. Let's take it as location, then address one, address two, because it may need a few extra thing. And then phone, majorly yes, to contact. And let's have this much only. Okay. Then data type would be integer, varchar, varchar, again varchar, again varchar, and again integer. Okay. Let's customer ID. We'll take it as a customer ID. Okay. Invoice ID, again, as I said, it will be a PK. Okay. Customer name, again, Dheeraj. Customer location, I'll take it as, let's say, Mumbai. Name, address, I'll take it as a blank, let's say, null records, complete address, assumption. And phone number, let's say I'll gonna put 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Something like this. Now I want to see, okay, what is the primary key? See, here we're gonna find out the entity relationship easily from here. Right? Okay. Anybody can tell me from these three tables. Now I want to understand how much you guys are getting it. This is the data modeling concept that we are discussing. So it is very really, I mean, we have created, because this data is not available, we created. And from here, we can create anonymous tables, right? This is what I want to give it for you guys. I want to understand, even though we don't have data, how we can create a data, right? So let's say I have order one purchase order. What I have ordered electronics, what headphone, how much item one, what is the customer for that? Okay, this is the customer. What is his name and PO date? Okay, from PO date, okay, I want to say, does that person have done the invoices? I want to check it. Okay, this is the invoice, I have got it. Okay, he has done through the UPI. Okay, if I put it over here, transactional, there will be another column called transactional. So this is what I want to understand. I'm just adding it on the basis of what I'm understanding the model, right? Once I have the transaction ID, you guys also can understand what would be the transaction ID, right? Again, it will be a
Foreign
F.
key.
Yes, correct, correct. It will be a FK, and here there will be a one more column. See, this is how I'm adding. I'm not, even though I don't have any data, but I'm creating a data model for you guys live. So this is what I want to understand. You just have to understand what are the requirement that we have. And even though without, I mean, just knowing the requirement, you can simply, create your own data model and own understanding of the data. Okay. So anybody wants to say, okay, transaction ID, I'll say it will be a lot of values. I'll put it transaction ID. Okay. Let's take it as this transaction ID. So there will be another. It is called trans underscore table. Correct? Again, guys, I'm talking little, this is little detailed way. So if nobody is getting it or have any questions, you can write it down those questions, then we can have it. Anybody wants to, can we, can a foreign key, anybody want to answer on this? I want to understand. Anybody want to answer on this? Even though Nirali, you also know this answer. I want you to be a little bit interactive. That's why. Yes, correct. Arav. Why? Anybody want to answer? Or Arav, do you want to answer? Why it should not be a null?
It has a reference with primary key.
Correct.
So
It
primary key is unique and not null.
yes, correct. Why? Because think, Nirali. I mean, this foreign key would be my a primary key of the any of the reference table. For an example, right? This is my PO ID. This is the primary key, but here it is having the foreign key. So do you mean that I already mentioned the primary key should not be null and unique? So it will not gonna have any nulls. However, it will have a multiple values. It is having the one to many relationship, as I mentioned over here. See, in department, correct? In one to many relationship. That means this two employee ID can have a many department. I mean, same department. I mean, these two entries are the many. One or more entries would be there. Got it? What is primary and foreign key? As I said, primary and foreign keys are the one, right? Where it will denotes the uniqueness in the column, in the table. Uniqueness. That means you might be working under the uh, you know any of the let's say company, right? Or let's say you guys are using the phones, correct? A very simple example. So you guys have the phones, right? You guys have the SIM cards, and you guys have there is a one SIM card number, locality number on the depends on the country code, correct? You have allocated one number. So do you think, guys, that that number would be null, or that can be a repetitive to given, let's say, uh, even my also number is same, and there is another person also have got the same number. Do you see that such kind of scenario? Have you heard about this kind of scenario in real time? No, right?
No.
Even though identity UAN, I believe, unified account identity, right? Or PAN card number, or Aadhaar, or a national any nationality ID that we usually have it. Do you think that any or let's consider passport? Leave about this passport ID. That do you think that passport ID is allocated to the same number with the different? No, right? So that is where it is called the relationship. This ID is the unique. I want to store it as unique to identify who ordered this, right? Who ordered? Let's say I've for an example, I've got some issue. I'm the customer, right? I've got issue. I've gone to the consumer court and I said that this e-commerce site, Amazon or any e-commerce site, they did not return, or there was a defect in my ordered the headphone. I've got the battery, right? And they are not refusing my request, and they are saying you have ordered the battery instead of headphone. I want to go to the consumer. How you will get to know that, right? Dheeraj has this ID. There are many Dheeraj, or there are many customers with the same name. To understand, have a very structured way we consider as a primary. That means who is that person, right? From primary, I'll got to understand, right? This is a primary key. Okay, this person has ordered. Okay, here also I can see he has ordered the headphone. Then how could he can get this? Get into to the battery, right? So this will go to the another. Okay, does this person have paid the payment? Okay, it will go to the which table? It will go to the invoice table. But how I'll need to get to know that, correct? If I don't have the entity or a data model or a data warehousing concepts, that I do not have customer, let's say you do not have customer ID, or right, how you can find out for which customer it is, right? For that you can find out, okay, this customer ID I can find out in invoice table. Okay, let's see, invoice table has this customer. Okay, same customer as, okay, Dheeraj, again he paid it, man. What is the invoice price? Let's say it will be in the invoice price. Again, it will be in the my trans table. from the transactional ID. So this is where you can find out from each detail. Okay, this person have already paid it. This is the customer which stays in Mumbai. This is the phone number he already paid, and we have all the details, right? You can snap this detail and log a complaint towards that company, and you can refund that money, right? For refund that money, there will be another table, right? There will be a delivery. Does that delivery happen? Right? There will be another table. I'm just talking about the business terms. I'm just creating the whole new business. This is how it works. Huh? I mean, if you consider any e-commerce site, this is how the data model. They have all the data models. If you see, there will be another delivery. I hope it's clear. I believe who has asked this question? Amarjot, I believe. There will be a delivery table. Correct? So there will be another delivery underscore table. Correct? Again, this is where you can find out, okay, delivery. Again, delivery, it will have a delivery ID underscore ID. Again, delivery location, address, and so on. These are the three columns, right? Delivery ID would be my FK, oh sorry, PK. For which customer delivery it is, I'll consider as a customer ID. There will be a my FK again. Correct? For transaction, it will be something like trans ID. This will be again, it will have a trans ID again, same. If you see over here, same trans ID would be there, right? What would be the transaction amount, right? What would be the currency, correct? And you can consider one more primary key for which customer it is again, or a PO ID and customer ID. I don't want to store the again and again customer name over here. I want to see the PO ID and the customer ID for which customer it is. So I'm gonna find out, okay, this customer PO ID, okay, customer ID, currency, let's say I bought it for 5K. I'm sorry. Currency is, let's say, INR, and I bought it for 5K. All right. So I'm creating the data model, guys. If you see, this is the data model. If you see, it has all this has the entity, all this has the relationship and delivery. There will be a delivery code. Again, it will be look like delivery PK and FK. This will be my again PK. This is my FK again, foreign key. This is again delivery ID. Let's say take it as something else. Let's take it as one ID. Location, let's say again as I mentioned Mumbai. Address, I'll keep it as null, or anything. You can put it as a complete address. Whatever the address we find it on customer, same address. Okay. It should match because it has the and customer ID would be this one. Fair enough. Right. This is our data model. If you see this, right, we can consider, yeah, this table has, this is called my dims and dimensions and the fact. I'm gonna talk dimension and fact. This is my table. Okay. This will show you that the entity relationship. If you see that all this have the entity, right? we started from PO, then we end up with the delivery. That means we have all the data which is properly saved and properly stored into our database. This is where we require the data modeling concepts. This is for a one e-commerce I talked. I've just talked about the sample. It will be something for the same finance. That means I'm from the finance team or a finance. Same this will for a HR employee. Same it will for a IT, right? Same it will for the retail, right? So this is where we usually find out in our tables or a data would always look like. Anyone has any question on this first before go ahead, before any concepts? Because I'm gonna talk about little detail what is the staging environment in databases. I'm gonna talked about the database uh, layers, right? Where layers, how the layers would talked about. I'm gonna store it over here, right? Anybody before we go ahead, anybody have a question on this? This is the entity relationship we talked. So I wanna, let's say I wanna talk or a question for you guys. Can someone tell me about this table? Okay, what table? PO table. Which one? PO table and the transaction table, right? Or you can consider any table. Let's consider these two table, PO table and the transaction table, or sorry, invoice table. What is the relationship between them? One to many, many to one to one, or one to, I mean, there is no relationship. Anybody wanna say on this? Or you can chat, you can put it on chat. What would be the relationship? Anybody wants to answer on this? Or you can guys can mute, unmute, or you can speak. You guys can type out one to one. How could it would be one to one? Just think one to one. Think, always think. Think twice. That's what I wanna. That's why I'm putting up so much pressure. Is this one to one correct, guys? Yeah. The question is, what is the relationship between this PO table and this invoice table? Relationship. That means, uh, what is the relation? That means this table and this data, is it one to one relationship, or one to many relationship, or many to many relationship? I'm gonna add one more data. You guys can understand on this. Rethink on this. Rethink. One to one. Many to many. Are you sure? Are you sure? Many to many. Are you guys? Is our answer right?
I would like to try to attempt.
Yeah, sure, sure.
If
Please.
let's say POID is the one that is a relation with it, transaction ID is not an exact direct relation to the table. So I guess it would be one to one, but does customer ID is considered as a relation because they are both foreign key?
Correct. Correct. You're right. You're right. For a customer, even though for a customer and PO, there will be a one to one. As you're right. But I'm talking about invoice and this PO. Just rethink, because this customer will have again one to many. You can see that's what I want to answer. How relationship would be. You see that I'm adding right POID, one more POID. Okay, this is the primary key. Line item second, same thing. This time again I'm adding. You just guys observe what I'm adding it. Okay, that's why I'm too much focused, because once you start creating the data model, You will deal with these questions, you will deal with these problems, because this is where you have to fetch the data and you have to do this mapping. That's what I'm little focusing on this. Which column should be included as a join, which, why not the other one? What is the relationship between one to one, one to many? So that's what I want to understand. Yep. 6 7. Again, invoice name same, I'll put it as because it's my name. Observe the things. Transaction would be same. Let's take it as I've done it in a single way. Transaction. Now tell me, between these two, I've added these two table. Yes, correct. It is one to many. Why it is one to many? See, these two customer ID. It is very fair enough example, right? It is a very fair understanding. Okay, this person have added. I've taken one mobile and headphone. Yes, items. How many items? One and two. Okay. What is the ID? Okay, the same ID, customer ID would be same. Yes, definitely it is going to be same, because it is not, because adding with the same customer, same date, on a same date you have added. Okay, great. What PO would be electronics, because it comes under the electronics. Okay, let's go to the next table, invoice. Okay, what is the invoice for this? Okay, invoice would be different because it is creating a new ID. Okay, and invoice would be, if you see the electronics, okay, same, again same name, this will be, and I'm putting as a same PO ID as a very, whatever the PO ID that we have, same ID would be over here. If you see the customer relationship between PO and invoice, right, it has the one to many. I have the customer with the same, with the multiple entries, the same PO ID. So it has the one to many relationship. Always remember, always read. Now you guys are going ahead for the data analytics role, right? So you need to understand the data first. First step to understand the data. Tools you can learn anytime, right? First thing to understand the data, how the data is look like. Correct? Now you can tell me. Now I want to answer question one more thing for you guys. What would be the relationship between customer and invoice? Customer and invoice. Again, guys, one to many, many to many. Correct, one to many. Let's say. Okay, one to many. Great. Let's say I have, let's say, invoice. I have one single invoice assumption. Correct. One customer might have the multiple invoices. Correct. Yes. So it's one to many. So can you guys tell me the many to many relationship now? So I believe, and everyone got it. What would be the many to many relationship between this? Just understand the data. What are the data that we have? Can you help me with the many to many? Very simple. You can observe it the table. We have a PO table, invoice, cost, trans, and delivery. Can you guys tell me? I've added the something data also for you. What someone answered, I believe, trans table and the invoice. Correct. Yes. Even though PO also and transaction, right? If you see, right? Even if you see customer, if I want to see, if no customer PO, it won't be, because trans ID and the customer ID all are the many to many relationship. That means one invoice can have a multiple transaction, and vice versa. Transactional can have a, even though PO and the cust, right? Even though one customer, let's no PO and cust can't be. How the PO and cust would be? Because one entry for each customer, right? Customer ID, it is one to many between PO and customer, right, Kajal? Because I won't be having a different entry for Dheeraj and this customer, right? So it is a very single entry between customer and PO. It is one to many. And if you see transactional and customer, these two, just observe this: customer and transaction. Each invoice, for each invoice, I've created the two entry for a same name. Same way, I've done the transaction for those things. Yes, definitely, it is many to many. That means I have a many entry for single and single customer. I have a many transaction for a single customer. Got it, everyone? Any doubt on this? I don't want to go ahead until you guys know about this, because we created this. Now you guys have to, and anyone have an issue, then you can consider that. We'll consider in the our you know uh, this in our session, Q&A session. Now you guys can tell me, apart from this, what table should I add? What table should I add? Anyone want to answer on this? Apart from this.
Any return, sir?
Yes, correct. Great. It will be again, there will be a return table. Correct. So now you guys are understanding what I'm trying to explain. There will be a return table. Now you guys have to tell me the attributes. I'm not gonna write out the attributes. What would be the PK and SK? So we are completely, from the scratch, we are developing the data set and the data modeling relationship. Now you guys have to tell me what would be. Okay, someone said return ID. Okay, let's put it as a return ID. Okay, PK, I'll put it as PK. Cool. Yes, again, it is the date. Customer ID. Great. Again, we'll put it as for which customer. Okay, PO for which. Yes, correct. Again, customer, PO, and date. Do you really think transaction ID is required in return? Anybody want to answer? Or do you have to understand? Do we need the transaction?
We need to revert the transaction
Yes,
from for the money as well, and we
yes,
can trace if the money was actually deposited or not.
right, correct. So we can consider as a transaction ID. We need to understand what is the transaction he has made it, right? So all the PK and FKs, if you see, we have all the relationship now. This is my FK, this is date, and this is my FK. So return, let's say I've written this order. Anyone wanna give me the data? Can someone, let's say I've written the headphone, let's say. I've written the headphone. So what would be the data? Let's say I'll putting it, this is 1, 2, 3, and something like this. Now you have to tell me what would the data. Customer ID would be same, right? Right. PO would be this one, correct? Date would be, let's say, 30th. and transaction ID. Let's take it as for a first. Now I want to find out whether this customer has got the return or not. How we can have this? Okay, fine. We got it. Okay, we have the transaction. But how much? Let's say we will add the transaction amount also. Okay. I want to understand. I mean, fair enough idea. I want need to understand fair enough idea. Sorry, that whether this person has got the amount, return amount or not. How do I need to find out? How I need to find out? Okay, I have this data. Okay, you have someone has written this. I need to find out, does this got written or not? How we can find out, right? No. I'm talking how we can this how where we gonna add. Yes, correct. Trans table with the return ID we can find out. Trans table with the return ID we can find out. Okay, this table. But don't you think there will be a, see, this entry says that, right? This data, I'm gonna highlight it. Okay, that means in return table, let's say in return table we have something, this data, where we can find out, okay, this means this value has return value. $5,000. Let's consider as 5,000. Tell me how we can understand. Okay, I got to know from the, okay, but in checking in the PO, I don't want to dig into the return. I have to join and those I need to have those, right? I can find out, okay, this is the transaction ID and go back to the transaction ID and check it. It will take a lot of time, right? But don't you think, guys, we can have a return, you know, anything should be mentioned in invoice? Don't you guys think we can have a,
Invoice table will
yes, in
invoice
invoice?
table will have return ID as a foreign key.
Correct. Yes, that is what I want to know. You can directly say that this is return ID. Okay, so can someone already answered, I believe. What would be the data? I would be happy to understand the next data. What will be the next data? Correct. Right. I'm more interested towards here. It can't be blank. Won't be blank. What would be the data? Yes, it would be a null. It will be stored as null because we don't have it. It is FK. We don't have any records, right? So do you think that, right? It has the relationship between proper? Do we have a proper relationship? So it is a valid scenario, right? It is a valid. Someone asked me, right? It will have a, you know, FK can't be null. But here, if you see while joining, it will consider as a null. Why? Because we do not have a proper, item entity, right? It is a very proper understanding. Yes, this return has got proper, and that means this value be considered as a null. So for that, we can put it as, instead of null, we can put it as a any value, because it this FK will not understand that, okay, this cannot be a null. It is a problem, but it is a very fair understanding, right? It is a fair real time scenario that yes, I want to there is a issue with the headphone, I want to return it, but there is an issue. Okay, no, but we cannot store this null value. Then how we can store it? For that, we keep it as zero. To for a better understanding, we'll keep it as zero to understand that for all the zeros with the return IDs, it is may not store over here, but whenever we do any joins or whenever we find any null, so that is called function NVL, that is null value allocation, right? Whatever the null values we have, put it as zero. Fair enough. That means, let's say if I put it, I mean, this is the data state, I mean, the Excel that we are using, and this is the function that we're gonna use. That means whatever the values that we stored, okay, return ID, we got it, but what about second one, right? If we don't find anything, okay, it will be considered as null, but we cannot store it. Our query, I mean, our data will not accept this to store it because due to the relationship between them. So how we can have this, even though it is a very valid scenario, so how we can make it for all the zero for a, so this is where the BA business analyst and the data analyst take care of this thing, right? It's a real time in scenario where we can put for all the zero, that means return ID is zero, that means is a fair enough that we do not have written this ordered, and what are the values not equals to zero, those are the return IDs. Got it, guys? Right? Any question on this? Now, I believe you got a fair enough idea how you can see this is. I'm gonna give you a little assignment for I want you guys, I'm gonna give it the assignment on the basis of on this, as we have this like with the actual data model or with the what are the data that we have. I want you guys to same way work or have this on the basis of the employee. Same, same. I mean, same structured with the same data entity relationship for the employee or organization. Let's not consider as an employee. Let's consider as a this thing. Let's consider instead of e-commerce I've added, right? I want you guys to at least do it for a organization. Let's take it as any let's say IT organization for any of the let's say Infosys, right? Let's consider as Infosys, and I want you to guys, let's say there will be a different ID, right? This different host name, but it is same database. Oracle is a tool, application tool. Host name will be different and database would be different. Okay, I'll put it as a IT organization. I want you guys to give me such like this. I've started with the PO and then I've incrementally created the data and everything. I want you guys to have a little understanding and try to get this. I'm gonna put it in chat. As someone is asking, can you? Yes, one to one. That means if you see over here, let's say I don't have any relationship. I mean, one to one, that means find out with the normally with the date. Normally with the date. Okay. That means, let's say you can consider I am currently working in, let's say I'm working in Infosys assumption. Okay. I've joined. Okay. I joined on this thing today, let's say today 30th. I've joined on 30th. My employee ID here, I'm gonna show it over here, right? Joining date, let's say I'll put it as 30. Okay. So joining date is this one. I have created with the employee ID, employee name, right? My all the entries has been taken care. I'm gonna add one more table. Okay, here I'll gonna add over here, not too confused. I'll gonna add over here date table. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure from where I should I get this, right? This data. I'm gonna add the date, as I said, in which date I've joined. What is the day? What is the month and year? '30th, 09, 0223. Day would be, let's say today is Saturday, correct? Month would be 09. Year is 2023. Let's say consider, okay, fine, this fine. So do you think that there will be one more entry, something like this twice in date table? Yes or no? Who asked this RO, I believe, right? Do you think that, guys?
No.
Yes. Right? So that means this has the can someone say me that what is the primary key? Now, guys, you will have a little fair enough understanding. What would be the primary key? Date. Yes. And I'm taking that date from where? Right? I'm gonna take this date table and include over here joining date. Right? This will be my FK. Got my point? Yeah. There will be one more guy. Right? If you see the relationship between them, PK and FK, there will be a 1-to-1. Employee ID and the date, it is 1-to-1. Right? So this is where we consider date. Normally, date is the one where we have that in a data model. Here also we're gonna find out. I did not add it over here. What are the dates we are finding out, right? How we are finding out? From where we are finding out? There will be one more column that is called standalone. I'm gonna have that in a little more detail, but I want to discuss this. Oh, sorry, this is creating. So there will be another called date column, date table, sorry. Where again, same. It is completely as we discussed, right, in data model. Here, right? We discussed about this thing, right? Calendars. In calendars that we discussed, right? That how we can have, why it is required calendars, right? Now you're gonna understand why we need calendars, right? In the data modeling, we need the calendars. We don't want to, there might be some issue with the system date, or we might get some issue with the system error. Then we cannot fetch that everyday system. If I want to see for a yesterday's data, or if I want to find out what would be the last 5 years data, we cannot find from the, from the system date, right? It may require a lot of calculation. If we stored proper date, we can directly fetch it from here, right? If let's say we have this table called since from last 5 years, then it's very easy to get all the 5 years record. instead of doing all the DAX, that is data analytics calculation, instead of doing calculation, we can easily get it from here, right? So this is where again, as I mentioned, all the date where you can directly find out from the date FK, correct? So I'll gonna discuss. So yeah, again, as I said, this is what I want to understand. See, again, we added one more table. How many tables we add? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tables. So I want to have a little one assignment for you guys. I believe anyone has any issue, we can have that in another 15-20 minutes. We can have a chat, or we can have a Q&A session. But I want you guys to have a try this and add a few 2 to 3 datas, right? And then you guys will be understanding, okay, what would be the tables, how the data is getting stored into the database. Now you're gonna understand, okay, this is where the data modeling is required. This is where the data warehouse details are required. Why we should not have a unstructured way, as I said, right? Why it is not allowing us to you know have the not null value, right? So these are the values that we stored it properly, right? So I want you guys to, I already put it in the chat. You guys go ahead and please try to have this same relationship for for a IT organization, right? How the IT organization database would be look like, and the at least the entity relationship would be look like. I mean, this is can be a considered as a data modeling first step to understand, right? I'm gonna go over a little more understanding of you know what are the layers of database. Okay, what are the layers? I mean, in data warehouse, how we store the data, right? First, we store the data in whatever the format or whatever the data we get it from any of the application. Let's say I have logged in into the the e-commerce side. I have my own Amazon ID. I have logged in through the my email address. Okay, I've ordered something, so it is I have logged in, right? There will be a one source database which will be called it as a one layer, right? This will be a source that will not gonna touch, because it is the data which is not we have developed. Who has developed that? It is the customer as the only one who entered that data into the database, right? So that is called the source database. There will be a staging, then again there will be a staging database. I mean, I'm talking not the database, sorry, uh, pardon me. It is called the layers, that means schemas. Why I'm explaining, I'm gonna give you a little heads up. Source, whatever the data that we have getting from the customer, I mean actual customer, we stored it as it is. We are not manipulating anything. We are not doing any DML. We are not manipulating. That I'm gonna talk about DDL, DML, okay, right? So NDCL, those are the control statements that we use, right? How we can create a table from the DDL, data definition language, right? That means those are the create and drop trade tables that we, as I mentioned, right? How we can create a PO table from here. These are the statements: create table, modify, then drop table, where you can do this syntax. There are a lot of syntax in DDL. I'm gonna explain this. And what are the DML? That means you can insert, update. If you want to insert the data, right? Let's say I want to insert these two data, how you can insert into the database. See, these are the DML statements. If you want to give a, if you want to create a ID, right? Let's say I want to see this data. Okay, someone created this table. Someone added this table. Now I want to see the table's data, right? How we can see? From giving the grant and revoke, that is called the DCL, right? That is called the controlling. So this is not schema. This is the where we how we can add it, right? Then I'm gonna summarize little way. because I don't want to give you any syntax. I want to give you a little background so you can understand how we can add it in database. Insert, I'll add it as little short form. Insert, update and delete. Right here you can use the drop, truncate, right, select, and DCL you can give the grant of the table, grant and revoking the table, sorry. Access, grant and revoke the accessing the table. Right, so this is how you're gonna add it. I'll jump over later on because I want to show you little how we store it. Okay, we have the whatever the data, as I said, we stored it in the source schema. This is called the source underscore schema. Okay, let's say I don't want to touch the actual database. Let's say I have done something, I have created table and I have messed up with the actual data, then it will be a really big mess, right? That means you have touched the database of the actual source. If we do any actual source data, it will be, if we, let's say we deleted the data of a customer from the source, it will be a nightmare to get those data. Even though we can, but you will be directly fired from the company. This is the impact, if I say, right? So we normally don't touch the source. Instead of doing the source, you directly create one more schema or a call, layer call, that is staging. That is called stage. What do you understand by the stage? That means it stores that the whatever the data we have it, we're gonna load the same load the same data into stage, right? After the stage, there will be a ODS. That is called, data is gonna have the operational, that is called operational data store. And then it will be a, this is a schema I'm talking. Okay, ODS underscore schema. All our schemas under the database will find those are the schemas as I mentioned over here. Someone wanna say something? In table, as I mentioned, right, there are multiple tables we're gonna find. Inside that there will be a schema like this. Under, if you have that connectivity, there will be a stage. Let's take it as source underscore schema. Stage underscore schema and ODS underscore schema. Right? Inside that, there will be a table. As I mentioned, what are the tables? These are the tables. You'll find out if you drop down, it will find out those tables. Again, there will be a, again, because this is a source table, you're not gonna touch it. So what will gonna do it? You create your own schema, right? So now you're gonna have your own schema for whatever you wanna do it. You wanna create a data model, right? So you're gonna create your own data model. For that, we'll create stage underscore PO underscore table. Right? So that means whatever you have, you're gonna load it one to one. You're not doing any changes, but I'm just getting whatever the data we have it in source, we'll store it here. And here in ODS, this is called operational data store or operational data storage, where we do the delta load. That is called delta. I'm using these are the terminologies. Please try to understand the delta logic. That means what are the incremental loads, or let's say if I want to do any transforming, very simple way, very layman language, transform, or any ETL work if I want to do, I will do it in the ODS, delta logic under the ODS. Now, as I mentioned, where it is. Yep. As I mentioned, right? Here, ODS, what we are doing it? We are doing this delta. So after that, these are the schemas, right? So after the schema, let's say there will be a call data mart. Here is the one. Here is a major focus. Here you will find out the data model. Even though in ODS normally people does it but for a majorly in 90-95% you will gonna find it over the data mart. That is called under the data mart. This is another schema. Let's say whatever what we have added. Let's say we created this model, right? Let's keep it this as a model called star or let's take it name as one of our, let's take it as e-commerce, ecom underscore, we'll consider as a ecom underscore star, or a data mart will say that ecom underscore load, right? For why we need e-commerce underscore, let's take it as retail. Okay. And this is the schema. Under there is one more layer, as I said. This is the layer where what are this are storing over here. What are the things that those are? Here you're gonna store dims, facts. What are the dims and facts? I'm gonna come to that. But normally you're gonna store dims and facts. Whatever the extra logic here, what stores in dims and facts? It's the it is used for the reporting. As I said here, Power BI, right? We do the data modeling over here, right? Here we do the model. If you see model view, see if you see that this is a model view, right? All the model view I have it. That model view, this will be created under my this where it is under my this is used for the reporting and creating the dashboards slash reports and for the data models, right? So this is I want to show you. So again, I'll gonna talk about dims and fact later on. I don't want to jump in today, but let's take this example now. So this is our data model. I just simply, if you see customer lookup categories, again product, your definitely customer will have a product, as I said. Then it will have what type of product it would be. Again, see this you also guys can create. One customer can have a product category. What kind of product category it would be? There will be under category inside that there will be again, if you see what are the things are available in product. Okay, product category, product name, and the product category, right? If you see over here, right? If you see what is the column, select the column with the unique values. These are the properties if you find, right? See, these are the attributes, correct? What are the product in, let's say I want to see, okay, in product lookup I have what are the counts and the model name. That means how many iPhones has been ordered. Then what are the counts? Let's say 5 for a year, for a month, for a quarter, right? What is the subcategory? This is a subcategory. And what is the customer? See, customer has all the details: first name, full name, gender, then email address, education level. I mean, this is again customer key, birth date, annual income, right? So, guys, now you have to tell me. Okay, I'm gonna remove this. It's taking little time. I want to remove this relationship. Guys, can you guys, it will take some time. Give me time. It will take some time. Anybody have any questions that we can, wanna discuss, or let's try it should get removed. Okay, fine. We removed it. Okay. Can someone help me about this is the data model view. If you see, this is the model view. That's why I've focused on this today. This is the model view. I want to understand what are the relationship between these six table. Can someone or anyone can give me that answer? Anything would be fine. See, this is where you're gonna have that actual understanding. Let's say you have all the tables and someone asks me to see, this is, see folks, I want to understand what should be the model where I can connect to the model and I can create my the view, proper visualization. So can someone tell me product, how the product would be? Or do we have, let's say if we don't have any relation, it's fine. We don't have to unnecessarily create any relationship. Okay, let's say territory lookup we have. Okay, product lookup we have, right? Product subcategory, right, which is having the category key and subcategory key. If you see over here product, right, if you see guys, product category key, which is having the key of the category key, that means, what do you understand? If I select and put it directly, double drag it, it is taking time. It will take some time, guys. It will ask you whether you want to create a, see, did you guys understood? Here also you can see one too many. If you see one too many, one, that means customer name will be single, but the many entries will be stored under the my subcategory, right? So now what next we can we have it, right? Let's say we have, this is the sales, right? This is the calendar, this we connected. It will take some time. Now you guys are getting it, how we can, even though having the any set of data, any set, that means let's say randomly you got any data and you want to understand what is the relationship between them, you can have to analyze it. This is where the data analytics comes into the picture. You have to analyze the data and you, okay, from here I can understand this would be the relationship and I can create the data model. It takes some time because we added, right? Let's take. Can someone tell me there is one more I can see? I think Mike is. Can someone get me this? See, customer key.
Sales and territory.
Can someone have that? See, customer key, right? Someone said territory. Wow.
Sales and territory.
Right?
Sales and customer.
Yep. Correct. Let me add it over here because it is taking a little time. That's okay. That means customer and the sales. Definitely it will have a entry. It will take some time. Again, let me go back and see. Someone said territory, right? Sales territory. And here, if you see, here also you can find out there is a territory key. Correct? So you can join these two. It will be a all the, so that means this sales data, if you see, it is taking little time, guys. So I don't want to, it is going for a not responding. So if you see customer ID in the customer lookup, you can directly drag over here and join it. That means this is customer lookup is my primary key. It will be stored under my sales data. It is my FK. Correct? This is all if you see customer key, right? Again, I've just added later. It is creating me after 10 minutes. Oops, it went on because it's a very huge data set. So it might give you a little hang up, but it's fine. I just want you to give you a, understanding what it is all about. So you guys also can try it, right? We added customer and customer. This is my customer fact table. I'll gonna talked about daemon fact. Customer, it is one-to-one. Customer ID with the one-to-one customer ID, right? If you see there is one more territory key, we can add that from the territory and join it. If you see that customer key again, it is my, PK from the customer lookup sales data. That means this is my the calculative. That means if I want to see the order, customer key, all are my FKs. So can anyone say that what are the FKs in sales data 2020? Customer key is the one. If we find out product key is the one, territory is the one, right? Those are the my FKs. That means from the FK, you can directly go back and check, okay, from the source and from the, the about tables, okay, this is my customer key. I can find out who is the customer. What is the name of the customer? Okay, what that customer is looking for. Okay, I need to find out for which territory it is. Okay, I'll go and check from the territory. What is the product for that territory? For what customers have ordered which product? If you see, it will have the product key, right? If you see product key, so it is completely interconnected and you can get all the data. This is where I want to force over here, guys. Today you can easily understand from here, and same data I have created, and I believe I've given all the data for you guys for your hands-on, right? I believe it is available in the the actual link. I believe I've uh, it is available in the forum, I believe. So you guys can have it and please have a look. The same data we just now developed, right? All right. So I'll gonna open for you guys. I'll gonna put it for today. After this today, just want to understand how the data model would look like. I'll gonna summarize today's session. How would be this the entity relationship one to many, how we can create a data, what are the steps, how we can have that one-to-one data, I mean entity relationship. What are the types of data, how we can store it, how we can have a very structured data, right? Even though the data is not looking fine, but how we can structure the data. And we talked about return tables, transaction tables, customer invoice, PO, right? Then this is very summarized way, we very detailed level that discussion we had today. Then I have asked you guys to, I have put it in the chat. Even though I'll ask, MIT team to, give you one assignment that I've added in the chat. I'll gonna put it in the forum as well, to have that in the service name organization for IT, and create the same data, and then we can go ahead easily. This work is very easy. Once you know this concept, this work is very simple. Now you guys are giving me an answer, right? So this is the major. I want you to guys to create for the IT and share it, and we'll have a discussion tomorrow. And we talked about the database layers, schemas, right? Source, staging, ODS. What is the source where we create, actual data stores in the source? What are the DDL statements? What are the DML statements? What are the grant statements? What are the staging and why we require it is the same data into the staging. We don't want to touch the source, so we'll same to same data will be up. I mean, if you call it as a replication of the source. And the ODS, we do the delta logic and the ETL work that, or a transformation that we do. And here we create the deems and fact. That's, if you see, you can call it as deem and fact. The fact data would be sales data. Sales data. I'm gonna talk about fact, and these above all four are the deems, right? So we talked about that. Right? And it is used for the reporting and the dashboard. So here I'm gonna conclude it for today. So any question? Now I'm open for any question you guys have. Right? You guys can open, write it in the forum chat. Any question. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna have it. What kind of understanding level that you guys have, or any questions do you guys? Any silly question would be also fine. Anyone have any questions? So we can talk in today's Q&A. And if not, then we can at least have an assignment, and then we can go ahead for the tomorrow's session. Anyone has any question? Or all good? I believe you guys can have the mute, right? I believe you guys can do the unmute and mute, I believe, right? It's open. Okay. If all good, Arav, thumbs up. Okay, great. We have to create a table for our organization having some data as we discuss. Correct? So do you want, I mean, see, creating the table, as I said, those are the, in the organization, as we discuss, you can consider any in an employee table, right? Employee table, you can consider any data of yours, right? You can add any your colleagues or any your friends data, and you can add that into your table level. As I mentioned in the employee table, right? As I've already included in the employee table, you can add those data, and accordingly you can create what next would be. I don't want to give any hint. Honestly, I want to understand how you guys have understood. So that's why I want to understand how the IT organization you gonna create as a data model. And then tomorrow we're gonna discuss. Right? All right? Any questions, guys? Or you can or else we can summarize, or we can conclude, and we can wrap up the session for today. All good? Okay. So anyway, guys, have a great day ahead. We're gonna connect at the same time tomorrow. All right. So just try to get that this session. I'm gonna have a word with MIT team that I'll just try to have, I'm okay if you guys are wrong. I mean, I want your thinking ability should be improved. I mean, because in a organization, once you get into a, the real time world, these are the real time examples I'm talking to. These are the real time examples. If you start working, then you will definitely gonna have this concern. Then you're gonna think, okay, I've did not done it in the real time. Then it's better to have it hands on right now, right? You will not gonna find this in the Google. You can search it. You will not gonna find it, because the real time scenario is a very detailed level of understanding that we have done it, right? So you'll get an information, but not a hands-on information. So just get a just get a, utilize that, and you will be a, believe me, you once you know the data modeling, I'm sure I don't have to take a much effort, definitely, because you guys might be knowing, okay, this will be taking care of, okay, this I can easily drag it. This is, and if you have any issues with the data modeling, then you can directly say that, okay, this might be something with this error. This might be something with, okay, this relationship, I don't feel it is a very good relationship. That's why we're getting the wrong data. So this kind of, because you are suggesting those data to the very higher level management. So that means your presence would be a maximum thing for all the, if you work in the very industry, so your presence will suffice. So that's why I believe the data modeling, definitely try to, as much as you can, I put it for a, just for a one assignment, as much as you can think for any, retail, you can think for any, let's say, take it for a, I believe someone heard about Zepto or Zomato, Swiggy, right? How Swiggy is working, how Zomato complete organization, how the Zomato data model is working. Think about that. It will be a complete, if you talk about it, is complete delivery platform, right? It is completely, they talked about delivery, they talked even the Zomato, right? So Zepto, right? How their data model would think about that, then you will try to I am definitely sure you're not gonna complete or succeed for 100% right answer, but at least you're gonna get into a 60 to 70% right, understanding. If you know the 50, more than 50%, it is way beyond the other people. So it's fine. So try to understand, try to take our live examples and get those, whatever we discussed today. All right. So I'm gonna conclude for today, guys. Have a great day ahead, and we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.